the most euphoric moment of my life. Yeah, feeling like we are not designed to live in a box. We had blue marlins, which were actually quite scary. They've been known to pierce boats before. The stars at night, like if there was one thing I could bring home, it would be a slice of being in the middle of the ocean at night, because the horizon is just phenomenally big. The fact that we were doing it as a team was really motivating, because I'd not really done a team sport before.
If you have ever wanted to understand why we should be asking for nature's help on mindsets, adventures, and more, then you're in the right place. So, welcome to Maximise Nature. Today's guest is Ellie Reynolds. Ellie has always defied the impossible and broken all expectations. Her latest adventure saw her and 3 other women row 3,000 miles across the Atlantic. We're going to explore with Ellie what her thought process was leading up to, during, and after the challenge, as well as how she thinks nature can provide the helping hands to people like you and me. Then we can take the good thoughts and put them in a travel bag, ready to use on our next adventure. Let's introduce Ellie to everyone. Why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners, Ellie?
Yeah, hi Max. So yeah, I'm Ellie, and I'm 26, and I have just rowed the Atlantic Ocean.
How did you use nature and your passion for the open ocean to complete the voyage?
Well, to be honest, I was scared of the ocean, and I'd never really had any desire to go onto it or across it. But yeah, after I started training on the water, I found myself kind of looking at the ocean and feeling this sense of like alluring. And I mean, I've always been a very outdoorsy person, and I love the outdoors, but kind of the mountains are more my home. So I wouldn't say I had a passion for the open ocean at the beginning, but I definitely, the more time I spent on it, the more I was kind of drawn to it. So,
and to be fair, for me, it's the other way around. I don't mind the mountains, but get me on a kayak and I love it. And, I guess it's just me being brought up like nearish the ocean. But yeah, What made you decide to focus on this challenge, and what events led you to turn this thought into a reality?
So I'd done a lot of triathlon and sort of outdoorsy challenges before, long distance cycling and so on. And to be perfectly honest, it was never really part of my life plan to do an ocean row. It was an opportunity that came up and I took it. It was kind of more about the challenge and the adventure than the fact that it was a rowing aspect. Like rowing was the method to facilitate the adventure. And it just felt like the right time. Like I did have to quit my PhD to be able to do it, but I felt like that's what I wanted to do, and my heart was kind of screaming at me to go and do it. So yeah, it was really just the opportunity, and I just thought, I can't miss this. So
no, 100%. Like I've had a load of times where the opportunity is just there, not to use football terms, but it is a tap in.
Yes.
Like, you definitely should just go for it, really, because
100%.
What are you realistically gonna lose? Because you're always more likely to gain than you are to lose from that sort of thing. What's your thought process when setting yourself this challenge? And is there truth to the phrase, "We're all tied to the ocean somehow"?
Honestly, it was just a case of I would regret not doing this. Like I'd rather regret things I've done than things I haven't done. And the thought process kind of went like, as soon as I had contemplated not doing it, I could only think, what if? And that was like my decision made. And then, is there truth to the phrase that we're all connected to the ocean? I don't know. I feel like I have a deep respect and, I guess a connection to it now. But 2 years ago, I'm not sure I'd have said that, because I didn't grow up by the sea. I grew up in Herefordshire, which is like a landlocked county. It's probably 3 hours to the nearest coastline. But I think definitely now, having spent 39 days at sea and probably like tons more in training, I definitely feel this like bigger connection. And I think it's definitely something that can grow. Like the more time you spend by it, the more time you spend just looking out at it, watching waves roll in, yeah, I think there's definitely a connection to the ocean. And I mean, they like most of our planet is water, right? And we like survive off them. And yeah, I mean, I feel very lucky that I've had like been able to cross an ocean and see things that people will never see. So yeah, I guess I probably am connected to it on a level that probably not many people get to.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's often through that natural experience that you sort of uncover things that you didn't actually realize. But it often hits you as you're doing the challenge or after, maybe when you've had time to sort of, in your case, turn it off, I guess. What were the challenges you faced before, during, and after the completion of your row?
The biggest challenge before was 100% sponsorship. I mean, like nothing to do with nature and the outdoors or that. But it was to facilitate it. We had to raise a heck of a lot of money, and that was a like commitment to it. And that was the biggest challenge that like consumed my whole life. So that was the biggest challenge. During and actually in the prep as well, sleep deprivation. Like I was trying to do a full-time job on top of the sponsorship, and training as well. Didn't really get much sleep like throughout the year of preparation. And then on the row itself, we were doing shifts of 2 hours on, 2 hours off at night, which meant in the 2 hours off you had to eat, you had to clean, and you had to like put weather gear on sometimes, which took ages. So I think the longest sleep I had was an hour and 38 minutes, which is like, even after a couple of days, you're like chronically tired and your brain slows down, and like that's just not something that I would have tested in any other situation. So that was probably the biggest challenge, although it didn't really, like, it wasn't that noticeable because it was kind of gradual, and then all of you were in the same state of sleep deprivation. So if anyone looking outside had looked at the four of us or like spoken to us for 5 minutes, they'd have been like, whoa, you're not okay. But yeah. And then the like physical toll, like we were bruised and battered by the waves, like day in, day out, all the time. But you just kind of get through that. I think the biggest challenge afterwards was the readjustment back to life afterwards. So having spent literally all of my time outside for 39 days, like watching the sunrise and sunset every day, watching the stars at night, which were just incredible. Yeah, like being completely outdoors and switched off from the world. And that's a very privileged place to be, to like not need to know what's going on in the news and not talk to anyone, not look at any, you kind of, your only responsibility when you're out there is to row and to look after each other. So I think coming back, and I went back to an office job, and like it literally killed me. I think, and as well that kind of, yeah, feeling like we are not designed to live in a box. And yeah, I just found that kind of, I mean, we were pretty feral, and I feel like I found my most like primal version of myself out there. And think back to the, like, yeah, living in a house with like, yeah, going to the office was just like, what is this? And I've been doing this all my life, and this is what I'm supposed to go back to, but I know that there's this alternative out there. So yeah, that was the hardest thing for sure, was like normal life again.
Yeah, no, that doesn't exactly sound easy. To be fair, if I wanted to do it, I'd have to go very, very far out of my comfort zone. But I guess that is the whole point of it, really. With the sponsorship stuff and everything, how much did you have to raise, if you don't mind me asking?
It came to, our target initially was 150 grand, and it came to somewhere between 175 and 180,000, which is like money, like I was still a student, it's money that I can't even comprehend. I still can't really get my head around. So we relied on some very generous sponsors.
Who were the sponsors? Just because I feel like they deserve a little bit of a shout out.
Yeah, 100%. So we had CSM, who are a sports marketing company. So our campaign was all about girls in sports. And yes, we had CSM, who are now Wasserman. Gill Marine gave us all of our ocean gear. So very grateful to them. We had Insight X, who are a agency working with sports partnerships. And then we had Babcock, and several smaller companies as well who gave us chunks of money. But our biggest ones were Insight X and CSM. So yeah, grateful to them forever.
Yeah, no, that figure sounds amazing. Like, I cannot comprehend that amount of money, especially in my 20s. Like, that is crazy. But anyway, I can only hope to get that much at some point. But, you know, never know. But no, is there anything you do differently to prepare for the challenge during it or after it?
100%. We were told before we set off, so it was part of a race, and the race director said, you don't know how to cross an ocean until you've done it. And he's so right. Like, we did the best we could, and we'd spoken to people before, but you learn things when you're out there. And I got the food so wrong. We had to carefully prepare how much food we needed to take, and we had 3 ration packs a day. It was like freeze dried food, which we actually ate cold because we were always too tired and couldn't be bothered to boil or jet boil. So we had cold food for the entire 39 days. And I was also very well. I thought I was being clever by making myself have less work to do and just picking 5 or 6 meals that I liked and just having the same thing. And then I made my snack packs every day the same, with one day I'd have ready salted hula hoops and the other day I'd have salt and vinegar. So there really wasn't much variety. And after a week of eating the same thing, I was just hating it. And I was like, why did I do this to myself? So but I had to put up with it. I stole a few snacks from my teammates and swapped a few meals, but I would definitely add in more variety because it got boring very quickly. And there weren't many things that brought joy in, but food would have been one of them.
What you were saying about variety, even though you like it, you need to change the direction of the wind somehow, but you can't just adjust your sails. So you need to change it up, basically.
Yeah, 100%. And when you're seeing blue, the view is the same every day. It's just blue.
Now that you've completed the challenge, can you think of ways nature gave you the helping hand, both mentally and physically?
Yeah, we were battling with ourselves, but we were really battling nature. The ocean and the weather were such forces, and we were at the mercy of the ocean. And a lot of the time, there was actually no helping hand at all. But we did have tailwinds that helped us, that kind of blew us along in the right direction, and a few random currents that helped us. But mentally, it was so beautiful. I mentioned the stars, but they were really, truly incredible. The sunsets and sunrises were very calming and inspiring. And then the wildlife that we saw too was not that frequent, but when we did see it, it was so special, and that was a real mental boost. And we were really grateful to be, connected to the nature on that level of, just surprising us at the best times.
What sort of animals did you see?
Oh, we had blue marlins, which were actually quite scary. They've been known to pierce boats before. And I was really, really desperate to see one. And then I saw one and I thought, it's shot through the water. They swim at 50 miles an hour. And they have these big, long noses. And I saw one and thought, oh God, I don't want to see another one of those. And then we did. But they were pretty cool. We saw whales. They were amazing. And we had one, I will never forget this. We were rowing at sunrise, and we heard the kind of whistling, whistling, clicking, and then this mum and her calf just breached the water at the same time, and it was so magical. We had quite a lot of dolphins, bird life as we got towards the Caribbean. It was mostly whales and dolphins, pilot whales, I think they were.
That sounds amazing. Just to go back to the whales for a second, surely you must have some pretty incredible photos and videos.
Yeah, we actually didn't take many while we were rowing because obviously we had no hands free. But when we were, it was the code was whether you're sleeping or not. As soon as you see a whale, you shout whale, and we didn't want to miss it. But I just sometimes I would forget to go out with my camera if I wasn't rowing. I just wanted to see it, and I was living in the moment. Didn't have the camera. We did have a GoPro. GoPro actually sponsored us. We had a couple of GoPros stuck on the boat, but we unfortunately got them a bit salty and a bit too salty and rusted onto the onto the mount, and then we didn't charge them very much. So yeah, most of the memories and the pictures of the whales live in my head.
No, that sounds absolutely mad and sounds like so much fun. Some of our listeners may feel inspired to better themselves and really get amongst nature by going in the ocean or just going for like a walk across a seafront or something. Do you reckon, especially with rowing, that there's any basic equipment that they need to get started?
I mean, I think anyone contemplating rowing an ocean, it is a mammoth task, because I think physically it's not that difficult. I mean, yeah, we had to train for it. If you give yourself enough time, anyone can get fit enough to do it, and strong, because it's less about fitness and more about like strength, and resisting the battering that you're going to get. But mostly it's a mental thing, and it's the preparation that's the hardest thing. So I think if anyone is feeling inspired, then I think, yeah, like I didn't row before. I didn't have a clue about the ocean. I had to do loads of ocean safety courses and learn about navigation. And it was like the biggest learning curve, but it was the best thing I've ever done, probably ever will do. So, would 100% recommend it. But I mean, even if you don't want to go and row an ocean, just to, spend some time on the sea, like go on a sailing boat, or I don't know, just even water sports, I just love the ocean. Yeah.
Going back to what you were saying about the sheer power of it, I know from first hand that one of the ways to knock you out, like it's literally a 9-3 butter, like it's not even funny, because I got taken up by the first wave when I went ocean kayaking, and that was a moment.
Really?
That was a moment I'd never ever forget. Going back to what you said was a part of the training, etc. What if you use any training mats, books, or even simple things like social media rooms, have you used to help you not only organise your journey but motivate you during the preparation and training period?
We had a coach, and we had a few coaches actually, a land coach and a sort of ocean water-based coach, and they were both great, like super motivating. The fact that we were doing it as a team was really motivating, because I'd not really done a team sport before, and yeah, that was super motivating. And in terms of the rest of the preparation, talking to other people who'd done it before was the most valuable thing we had or could have done. And I think that's kind of the case with most people who are definitely in ocean rowing, and I think in adventure generally, like they're quite willing to share advice and tips and things they've learned from doing it themselves with other people, because everyone kind of in that world and that environment wants everyone else to also enjoy it. So yeah, people were very generous with their time and offering advice to us. So yeah,
that is so crucial. Like, you tend to learn more when you're in a group, because you learn off of them basically.
Dancing I did, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. When you said earlier about the snaps and everything, and how your incredible rational tactic definitely worked, what's one trick you always had on the go when you were rowing, even though you might have dropped in the water at some points?
Flapjack. They were sometimes chocolate coated. The chocolate coated ones got very melted because it was pretty hot. But flapjack, I had a solid block of, generally it was plain flapjack. 3 o'clock in the morning, boom, great snack. Just briefly the really tough shift. Yep.
That's definitely a rewarding part. Yeah, no, there's nothing like a sweet treat after that, really, is there?
No.
Speaking of sweet treats, let's play a game. Let's swap some of those treats for some treats in a game I like to call the sweet treat. So Ellie, your task is to tell me one truth and one falsehood about your adventure or anything to do with nature, and I must pick the sweet truth correctly. Either I get the sweet victory of picking the truth, or you get the sweet victory of persuading me to pick it correctly. Are you ready to play?
I think so. toilet bucket was called Charlie. We I ate salt and vinegar chickpeas every day. And the cabin was dry.
What kind of boat was it?
It was a specifically designed ocean rowing boat, so it does have 2 cabins either end. And then you've got the rowing deck in the middle. So
Why Charlie?
Because my teammate Abby wanted to name the bucket, and she had a friend called Charlie that she wasn't a big fan of, so she thought he can be our poo bucket.
Are you sure it wasn't Charlie in the bucket full of dinosaurs?
Very good.
No. What was the other one?
That I ate salt and vinegar chickpeas every day.
How many packets?
Oh, I can tell you pretty much exactly. There were. Well, it was a packet a day, and we were out there for 39 days. So, and each packet was 500 grams. So that would have been approximately 2 kilograms of chickpeas. I think it was it was more than that. It was 20 kilos because it was 500-gram bag every day, and they were 250 grams, and it was one of those a day for 40 days. So 10. Okay, it's 10 kilos. My maths is finally working. 10 kilos. Yeah.
Was it 10 kilos?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Right. So with the chickpeas, that probably salted, so that makes sense. The bucket also makes sense. I'm going to go for one of those. I really want it to be the bucket.
I would love it to be that one. Sorry, Charlie.
Is that your guess? Okay, that one's actually a lie. The bucket was called Terence. The truth was, it was a chickpea story. The cabin was definitely wet. Oh, they were designed to be dry, but they were very wet. And then, the chickpeas were true. I say I ate them every day. There was one day where I was so seasick that they came back out of my nose, so I don't know if that counts, but technically, yeah, it was true.
Wait, what was my nose?
Yeah, I was so violently seasick that I had chickpeas coming out my nose. Yeah. That's probably too feral. You didn't really need to know that, but yeah.
Well, I hope no one's eating while they're away.
You made me cut that.
What was the bucket's name?
Terence. I actually don't know why it was called Terence. I think it was Abby that named it, and I think she just liked the alliteration of Terence the toilet. I don't think she had a friend called Terence.
Now, Ellie, for the listeners, when you got to that finish line or experienced that incredible interaction with nature, what do you remember about that moment? Just so people listening, can experience that moment vicariously through you.
There were 3. Am I allowed 3 big moments to share? Okay. So the first one would be the stars at night. Like, if there was one thing I could bring home, it would be a slice of being in the middle of the ocean at night, because the horizon is just phenomenally big. I just goes forever, and no time in the UK would you spend an entire night outside watching the stars, but you do because you're out rowing all night. So you see the stars, the constellation rise on the horizon, and then it moves across the sky, and you can really see the way the Earth's rotating. And that was just such a mind-blowing moment that I just wish I could just share that with everyone. And then the whales, the mum and her calf at sunrise was just so magical. It was just this pure I guess connection and a real appreciation and wow for what we were seeing, and that we were there and they were just so close. And then the finish line was the most euphoric moment of my life, to kind of see and hear people after 39 days of disconnect, to be reunited with loved ones, my sister especially, was just incredible. And I don't really know how to describe it other than, like euphoric. But there was also a sense of sadness and maybe like grief that it was over, because I felt this kind of sense of belonging and I didn't really want it to end. So, euphoric with a little twinge of sad. Yeah. Yeah, if I could bottle anything, I'd take that home.
Yeah, so true. I mean, the same for me with skydiving. I loved it. Then when I was over there, I'm not going to lie, my body sort of shut down for maybe 10, 15 seconds. Because it just jumped out of the plane. Yeah, no, euphoric is definitely the right word. I imagine that to be an incredible experience. Someone would want to experience the open ocean, or simply even travelling somewhere that they haven't been before. Where do you think your next adventure is? And do you promise to tell us about it?
Oh, to be honest, to be decided. I don't know. I've got lots of ideas, but nothing is set in stone yet. I think I just needed to, reset. To be fair, I had this craving for the mountains because all I'd been seeing was flat blue. And I was craving mountains, so I went to Morocco and I climbed Toubkal, which is the highest peak in the Atlas Mountains, and I think in Northern Africa. So that was kind of my next adventure that happened quite soon after, and now I'll figure it out. But yeah, I'll let you know when I've decided.
With that in mind, did you manage to figure out the nature phrase I fitted into this episode?
Yes, you did say something that I was like, ooh. I can't remember what it was. But it did strike me at the time. I was like, ooh. No, that's really terrible. I'm sorry. I did clock it at the time, but I want to say it was maybe halfway through. A third the way, maybe.
Well, it was. You cannot change the direction of the wind, but you can adjust your sails. That was from Jake Smith, who you can check out in a recent episode. Congratulations if you got it at home. One last task is I need you to message me on Instagram, WhatsApp, or something like that, a nature phrase that I must fit into my next episode.
Yep, I've got one ready for you.
Do you have anywhere on social media where people can follow you and see what you do next?
Yeah, 100%. So I'm at ellies.row.journal on Instagram, and secret, that's less of a secret, I'm trying to write a book. So stay tuned there and you might get a book, but it's a work in progress at the moment. So you can follow me on there and maybe read about it one day in the future. Do you have anyone who you think would be a great guest on this podcast? Because I would love to get them on. Oh, yeah, I think there'd be quite a few people. I've done quite a lot of bike packing, and I think there are quite a few people who I'm inspired by, and I think have done really cool adventures bike packing. So yeah, I was with bikepacking buds for a bit, and there's quite a few of them that I'm sure would have some great stories about their connections with nature.
That's it for this episode. Thanks again, Ellie, and thank you, listeners. Until next time, get out and explore what's beyond your front door. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you follow Maximise Nature on Instagram for more nature-based content. See you next time.